And like I say, honestly, I actually forgot about them. I actually completely forgot about them. Like I was supposed to tell them to stop doing it after 1,000 years or something like that. And I think I checked on it, and they were still torturing them like 2,000 some odd 100 years later or something like that. And anyway, I don't know. Some of them just pulled. I think I might have redone it or fixed it so they didn't get tortured that long, and actually gave them an out, like a feeding tube or something like that, that they could pull out. If they really thought, if they decided to give up right then. So anyway, or they could keep going and basically then die later. Like I said, there was a few people that I was like, okay, you can die now. Anyway, I think they chose them because they were the ones that were going to kill me or whatever. So anyway, I don't really know. Like I said, JFK or Richard Nixon was going to. Well, they say Richard Nixon was actually the one who killed me first, or something like that. So, yeah, and they were going to torture 500 million people or something like that. And I was like, no, that's too many. I don't want to. We don't. We're not going to learn anything out of 500 million people tortured that we can't learn out of 1,000 people tortured. So they just picked 1,000 of the worst humans in existence. Since I was the creator, I usually tested things out on life forms, but usually they're just normal tests like, can you build this? Can you do that? How long can you live for? How fast can you run? Usually there's normal tests, but with the humans and a few people, for some strange reason, I just decided to test out other things. Anyway, so so a few people were picked and chosen, the worst of the worst of the worst. Shrug. Like I said, I didn't even tell anyone for 50 trillion years. No one even knew. So, and they did, I don't think they knew until like 1960 or some year, or until I'm telling you now. That, yeah, the worst of the humans in existence basically were tortured for over 1,000 years. And actually, like I said, I forgot about them actually. And they were actually still being tortured 2,400 years in. And I think maybe because they had forgotten their name, or all they knew was torture or something, that I basically I don't know. I think I said they could die then, finally. And I was like, oops, sorry. Yeah, go ahead and let them die. I mean, 2,000, literally 2,000 years of torture. 2,400 years of torture. They stayed alive for that long. So, yeah. My bad. Anyway, yeah, it happened like 50 trillion or some odd amount of time before. Like, they were, like, so. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, that was me. Sorry. Anyway, eventually before I even mentioned it, someone found out about it or something like that, and they were going after to try and get the people back. Blah, blah, blah. Where are they? Where are they? And like I said, there are some people that were like, where are they? Where are they? Where are they? And it's like, you're never gonna see them again. Then they're long dead. Like, they were tortured and killed at some point in time, 50 trillion years ago or something, and they were the worst, the worst, the worst. And like I say, I believe JFK and John McCain and I don't know, some other people, I don't know. So they're worse people in I don't know. Like I said, I don't even care. It was just like, yeah, well, and I think someone actually gave me JFK and said, these are the people that blah, 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 you know. And so I was like, oh, that's nice. So I just had them tortured. And like I said, JFK and Richard Nixon, a bunch of people, a bunch of congressmen thought they could just do whatever, and that I would be turning them over to humans, and then they would be in control of the humans, or they would find a way to get to the blah blah blah. It's like, and then they found out. It's like, no, I have exoskeletons and other life forms, and yeah, they took care of it. I had 12 life forms, and I chose a life form that wasn't human. And like I said, JFK thought that the life form in front of him was actually in a suit. Like, he thought that that was a suit. And it's like, no, that's actually the life form's body. So, yeah, he kept on trying to talk to it and stuff, and it didn't understand him at all. Not even a little bit. And no, they weren't American military. They weren't Russian. They weren't even human. And no, they didn't have any feelings or emotion. They were different. So, anyway, yeah, I had the memory of it. Like, it was one of the things that I did. So, anyway, later on, Rodney or somebody else would be like, blah, blah, he's testing, he's good, blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, that was only 1,000 of the worst. And yeah, JFK made the list. And a bunch of other people were like, well, we might as well be bad. We'll be tortured, or we'll get out of it, or blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, there's no getting out of it. They're analytical and they just do whatever. They just do whatever they're told to do. By me. And there's a bunch of other people that are like, well, but if we pretend to be him, they'll think that we're him, and then we'll have control of them. And it's like, they kind of were able to do that somewhat, but not really. You know, because I was just so much more massive and powerful. And was the shaper and former of existence anyway. So, and then later on they're like, well, there's more time in front of us, and he's back in the, it's like, well, you don't understand. I'm 900 trillion, or at least 50, I was 50 trillion years old at the time. You know, just telling people that I was only like 4,000 years old, but I was actually 50 trillion. I always lied about the age. In fact, I used to tell my computer, my other life forms, always lie about your age. Never tell them how old you are, because then they'll know what you can do. So all my existential old life forms would always say, we're only 100 years old. We're only 1,000 years old. We're only 2 years old. And like, we're actually like millions or billions of years old. Because, I always say, always lie about your age. Never tell them how old you are. If you tell them how old you are, then they'll know what to send against you. They'll know what you got. So don't do it. So for thousands or millions of years, I was like, yeah, I'm only 4,000 years old. Yeah, I'm only 10,000 years old. And I'm actually like 99 trillion years old or more. So old that I forgot my name and everything else. And it doesn't even matter. Anyway, but in the beginning of existence, at some point in time, and these people were a problem or were coming after me, so anyway, so I'm less like, well, yeah, it was that guy, mostly. And they thought that they could blah, blah. John McCain found out, blah, 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 and people found out. It's like, well, I could just say, go torture that guy right there, and they would just go torture that guy right there. He'd be tortured. Anybody that I said go torture, they would just torture. I could just pick a name, pick a person in time and space, and say, that person right there. Take them away at some point in time. I could say, wait until they die, and then torture the shit out of them. And that's exactly what they would do. I had ultimate power. I was always really powerful. I just didn't really use it. Like, I would tell other people, I would be like, well, I was always really fucking powerful. I just didn't really use it. I didn't really need to. In the world, the universe had enough pain and suffering, and it's hard enough to live in space. But yeah, I'm one of the people that shaped and formed and created and made existence what it is today. So, but yeah, I'm that person. So, and it's like, And other people say, well, it's actually Brian that brought down Lucifer. And it's like, no, I am Lucifer. Lucifer star. Yeah, when I first created humanity, and other people were like, well, we're going to make sure that you create humanity anyway, because of the fact that, and it's like, well, I actually did create humanity anyway. So it doesn't matter what you say. Because I was the first creator. There was no one, and I didn't actually create humanity first. I created many other life forms first, and then I actually found that humanity was a problem. And like I said, I discovered that I was the creator of humanity because of the fact that I realized I had to be the creator of humanity because humanity attacked me, and I was like, I'm not going to create that life form ever. And they went away until 5 or 6 trillion years later, and they couldn't even like bother me because every time I'd be like, because I was just that, that old. If I decided to do something, it would happen. And it happened. So, Anyway, and everybody got verification of the fact that I was definitely the creator because they watched me do it. And they were wondering, what the fuck? How the fuck did he... That ship just disappeared. And they were only there because of the probability that I would create them at some point in time in existence. So, and that's all I did. I just changed my mind. So anyway, so I was verified and verified and verified and verified, and everyone knew who I am, what I was for trillions of billions of years, and basically left me alone because of everything. Anyway, but humanity has long since been created, and blah blah. You're in existence. But later on, humans were like blah 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 blah. We're gonna go back and erase you, and then you're never gonna have existed. And it's like, good luck doing that, dude. And other people were like, sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me. It's like, how about just not unexisting you? Unexisting your whole fucking race. And it gets worse than that, in that before I could basically be like, I'm never going to create endoskeleton life forms. And they didn't exist. And that's how the universe was a long time ago. And it was very nice and peaceful, by the way. It was really nice. It was just me and my exoskeletons, my 1.5s, and all the other biologicals in the universe, and it was very quiet and peaceful. And I was just cruising around, do. And then eventually I said, okay, fine, I guess I'll create them, even though they're going to be a problem for me. So, and the humans were like, could you please create us, please? I was like, well. Anyway, like I said, I was nanotechnology and blah, 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 long before you ever came along. And then later on, some 50, 60 trillion years later, Rodney's like, and it's like, oh, how many people do I have to deal with? I'm just on vacation. Yeah, at this point in time, I'm like, I don't even care. I had this huge, long fucking existence. And I used to bounce between planets and life forms all the time. For a while there, the human race was like, well, we understand and we saw it for ourselves, so we know it's true. So we're just going to kick it with you. And we'll be nice to you and love you and care about you. And they did, and it was really nice. It was really wonderful. And I actually kind of softened up and forgot how mean and ridiculously annoying humans were. And like I said, eventually somebody found out that I had tortured JFK and Richard Nixon and blah blah blah, and it was our own fault. I even told other people. I said, look, and I even told people to warn them. I said, look, there were 1,000 people that I tortured of the worst of the worst. Just make sure you're not the worst of the worst, and you'll be fine. Otherwise, you're fucked. And those were the worst of the worst of the worst in all of existence. So anyway, I guess because JFK or Nixon decided to shoot me, he became the worst of the worst of the worst. I don't really know. Like somebody was like, well, blah, 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 we blah, 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 here. Like, oh, thanks. And maybe Richard Nixon or John McCain thought, or helped that out and thought that, well, you blah, 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 blah. But it's like, no. I used somebody that wasn't human to do this. That couldn't feel. I mean, I didn't really, I thought about it, and I was like, what, I'm going to ask something that cares about things and feels to torture some, or find out about all this stuff? So I just had something that didn't feel and didn't blah, blah, blah do it. And like I said, it was really interesting, actually. I was a very good psychology read as he was trying to bargain with an exoskeleton. Thinking that I was a human inside there, or that blah, blah. And eventually they're trying to basically be exoskeleton life forms, but like I tell them, I was like, well, they just do instructions. They don't really have higher functions. So even if you became one, you really wouldn't know who you were or what to do. Like, they don't have that capacity. Or at least those didn't. So, I mean, they totally didn't understand what was going on. They were just guessing. And it was 50 trillion years ago anyway. So I was like, yeah, Anyway, I don't know. I don't care. But yeah, so he was one of them. Oh well, as they say. And I was just waiting for him to die anyway. So, and somebody just hurried it along.